The bombshell that no one saw coming erupted, leaving the hip-hop business in utter chaos. Jim Jones's character Chrissy Lannon, better known by her stage name Ride or Die, has been involved in the kind of controversy that tempers even the most outlandish love stories and hip-hop narratives. There are sources of whispers. The video is allegedly being circulated. Insiders further believe that Jim Jones is completely wrecked due to a shocking affair disclosure that completely disrupted their personal life. Think about this. The woman who helped Jim through years of adversity. In the most dehumanizing way possible, love, betrayal, and the madness of reality TV were suddenly exposed. The words new husband and affair are being circulated online by fans who are curious about if Chrissy was secretly living two different lives. How long has this been going on for? And why is the timing of this leak so suspect? Social media is already in a state of turmoil. Supporters are calling it karma. According to some, Jim was the cause of this himself with his historical background. However, the loudest voices are cautioning that the link that we all thought was unbreakable may be destroyed by this scandal. But there are other questions besides treason. The aftermath is the reason. How would Jim Jones respond? Now react when his kingdom, his family, and his pride are all under threat? And is this a real leak that means Chrissy and Jim are no longer together? Or the beginning of something darker and more barbaric? I can assure you that what comes next will startle you even more. Prior to diving into the shocking scandal that sets social media ablaze, we must first take a step back in time and look at Chrissy Lampkin and Jim's complicated, tumultuous, and volatile history. Because if you think that this dispute happened overnight, you are totally wrong. The warning signs have been there but hidden for years. Everything that has been buried now appears to have burst out of thin air. Casey, the well-known story of Chrissy and Jim's love. Jim and Kay weren't your typical hip-hop and love combo. They were the first two people to build complicated relationships for reality television. From their very first appearances on the program, fans were captivated by Chrissy's fiery demeanor and Jim's ability to maintain composure under duress, but their romance was never simple. On national television, Chrissy proposed to Jim in one of the most well-known and controversial sequences in the franchise. Instead of Jim proposing, Chrissy turned the tables and seized control of her own destiny. Several admirers complimented her boldness. Others said that it was a desperate move. Regardless, their relationship remained tense behind the scenes, but that episode cemented their position as reality TV royalty. The engagement that never ended. Let's be truthful. Jokes about Chrissy and Jim's engagement began to circulate among the company. They became engaged and then engaged again, but they were never able to tie the knot. Years went by, but there was never a wedding. Fans often asked, why has Jim not yet married Chrissy? Every reunion, interview, and podcast appearance touched on this subject, and Jim always avoided it with vague answers about not hurrying. That strain boiled out in a number of seasons of love and tenderness as Chrissy rolled her eyes in annoyance. Hip-hop. Jim wanted freedom. Chrissy wanted protection. The threat of infidelity was another thing they both wanted to avoid, seeming dumb in front of millions of people. This is not the first time that Jim and Chrissy have been suspected of adultery. Things get rather messy from here. Over the years, there have been recurring rumors about Jim's alleged side women and late-night parties. Chrissy wasn't blind, but she was known for being ride or die. There were times when Chrissy and Yandy Smith clashed during one of the most heated episodes of On Love in Hip-Hop New York, and Yandy, who used to supervise Jim, found herself in the middle of Chrissy's suspicions and irritations. Chrissy still looked like a tired woman, believing that Yandandy enabled Jim's reckless way of living, and that their conflict resulted in violent fights. Weary of enduring Jim's ego and lifestyle, weary of waiting, sick of forgiving. The private reality on camera is in stark contrast to the public persona. Jim and Chrissy continued returning to one another. Supporters called them as ambitions for the partnership, not because they were perfect, but because they were sincere. And they presented themselves as a unified group, no matter how bad things were or how savage the disputes became. Under the spotlight, they presented the raw, messy, and pure truth of falling in love. But the late-night arguments, the trust issues, and the years of unsolved tension that accumulated like waiting for a dynamite match Chrissy's growing independence. Chrissy started to come out of Jim's shadow, but independence also came questions. So she focused on developing her own identity, working on her own projects, and removing herself from the industry's turmoil. Was she happy? Had she finally broken free from the never-ending cycle with Jim? Her absence at the most recent hip-hop and love seasons just helped to fuel speculation. Some said she had given up on Jim entirely, while others claimed she was done with reality TV. Thus, fans were not only shocked to hear that Chrissy had allegedly been caught red-handed with a new husband, but they were also split up. It was the perfect storm. Some said, good for her, because Jim never gave her the ring and security she wanted. Others were surprised. But here's the real deal. Chrissy had put in so much effort for this man. How could she betray him? There was more to the story than Chrissy's choice to move on. The timing was critical, as Jim was preparing for new music releases and making commercial decisions at the time of the breach. Insiders saw it as more akin to sabotage than a coincidence, and Jim Jones's heartbreaking tales indicate that Jim was caught off guard. A blog post states, Jim thought they were broken, guy. He appears to be a ghost. They were sturdy. He never thought this would happen, but they weren't flawless. If this is true, it is the highest kind of treachery, not just an affair. Chrissy wasn't just unfaithful. She reportedly started seeing someone else entirely, leaving Jim to handle the consequences in public, which helped to spark the scandal. It makes sense that the disclosure of this affair would shock hip-hop culture given that context. Not just another reality TV couple, Chrissy and Jim left behind a legacy that is currently crumbling before our own eyes. What had really happened the night Chrissy was caught? Why now, and who disclosed her? What will Jim Jones do, above all, now that his adored nobody could have predicted how dark, gory, and deadly the details of this leak would become? It is said that life has abandoned him. The allegations that Gracie Elkin had been caught red-handed turned into a controversy of such magnitude that a grainy video clip went popular on social media, allowing terrifying evidence to start spreading online and shocking followers by shaking Jim Jones to his core and causing what had been said behind closed doors to burst. Although it initially seemed to be simply another grainy late-night video, fans soon realized that the woman in it looked almost precisely like Chrissy. The footage showed her sitting in an upscale Atlanta bar, snuggling up to a man who wasn't Jim Jones. The picture was uploaded by an anonymous user with the remark, "Y'all's hands leaning in close, and what looked like a kiss caught at just the right angle. Favorite pairings aren't goals anymore. Chrissy is out here with her new husband." The internet took off. Blogs immediately seized on it. There are headlines on every gossip website saying that Chrissy has been exposed. Incredulity was voiced by fans in the comments area. "She's not like that. This isn't genuine, tell me. Jim will lose his mind when he sees this." After years of searching, she eventually located the insider testimony. But it didn't stop there. Hours later, a person who claimed to be close to the scenario dropped an even bigger bomb. According to them, Chrissy had not been spotted with a man recently. She had allegedly married him in a covert ceremony months prior. The insider claimed that although Chrissy had been done with Jim for a while, she was unable to publicly announce it. She has been acting suspiciously, and now that someone close to her released the receipts, everything is coming to light. Recognitions, admirers. We really hope to comprehend that. The shocking evidence from the latter disclosure was much worse. Screenshots began to spread online, showcasing the dialogue that Chrissy and her new husband had. They were private messages. According to reports, Chrissy wrote, "I can't wait to see you at home. You are my genuine love for eternity, and I'm tired of pretending." The man also wrote, "We don't need the when they read, just you and me always." Fans were shocked. If Jim Jones had responded to the text, he would have said, "They were proof of a double life, not just casual flirting." Insiders claim that Jim learned about it online, just like the rest of us. A blog claims that Jim was looking at first, he didn't believe it, but as the messages started coming in, he flipped out and slammed the screen against the wall, shouting, "Not her, not Chrissy," again. For a man who always radiates strength, and this was a devastating blow to confidence. and social media was already in a frenzy. After years of portraying herself as Jim's loyal queen, Chrissy was dragged by others who branded her ungrateful and hypocritical. Fans and Twitter supported her on Instagram, pointing out that Jim had been dragging her along for years without ever truly committing. Chrissy exposed were trending topics. One fan said on Twitter, "After all that time waiting for it, she gave the ring to someone else." Whoa. Someone else said Jim had been unfaithful to her for years. Give that woman an opportunity to survive. At a moment when the story appeared to have achieved its climax, a terrible surprise sent shockwaves through society. A gossip blog released a purportedly authentic marriage certificate that identified Chrissy, although it was blurry and a little hazy. Another man's name next to Lampkin's. "Just 3 months ago, I helped." This was not a straightforward matter, if it were true. Treachery. Reports said that Chrissy had not only left Jim, but had started a whole new life with him. Jim has always been outspoken on social media, but he has been quiet in public while keeping up appearances. Media. But after the release, he said nothing. No posts, no tweets, no lives, which further fueled speculation. Supporters asked whether he was angry. Chrissy didn't say anything either. But was he only waiting to tell his side of the story until he got all the facts, or was he preparing revenge? It just made things worse. The internet began to write its own tale, and it wasn't a pretty one when neither of them said anything. According to some insiders, Jim's inner circle is split, with some of his closest friends pressuring him to others are telling him that Chrissy's treachery is unacceptable, reminding him of their decades-long relationship and urging him to talk to her before cutting her off completely. Decide. But one thing is for sure. Jim's trust has been ruined and his pride has taken the brunt of it. Cliffhanger: a fictitious marriage certificate, a video, and alleged text exchanges. Although there is disagreement among fans, are these leaks real? Jim was broken when Chrissy caught him red-handed. Is someone attempting to destroy Chrissy and Jim's legacy? Or who leaked the evidence? Is it a friend, an opponent, or someone in the industry looking to stir things up? Or is this the last straw for Jim Jones? Or will he find it difficult to retain the woman he has been supporting for decades? The next discovery will utterly blow this story out of proportion. What transpired next turned this messy controversy into one of the most disastrous and sinister occurrences in history. Even though the affair leak was already going out of control, relates the tale of Chrissy Lannon and Jim Jones. The whispers turned into sobs, the rumors became anger, and the second video surfaced just as the internet was overrun with more receipts that showed an even more disgusting scene than anybody had expected. Roughly. The first lounge footage was beginning to stabilize. Another shocking tape showed up. The video was sharper this time. Instead of just strolling hand in hand, it depicts Chrissy and the same unnamed man leaving a motel. They were laughing, smiling, and acting like a couple with no concerns in the world. The post's caption added, "When you think you're sneaky, yet the streets are continuously observing." Chrissy's secret life is exposed. Supporters immediately recognized the person as someone who has allegedly attended several industry events over the past year. Bloggers quickly found his identity and said he was a businessman with ties to Atlanta's nightlife, and within hours his face was widely circulated online, with followers calling him Chrissy's new husband. The video was leaked, but it wasn't the biggest surprise either. A few hours later, a gossip site released what they claimed were court documents showing Chrissy. And although the documents were a little fuzzy, they appeared to show a marriage certificate that was filed in another state just 3 months earlier, proving that this person was married. Chrissy had been hiding in plain sight, and the initial source had hinted that, if accurate, this was not just a careless situation, but a whole new Jim Jones's breaking point. According to those close to him, Jim had had enough, and when the second recording arrived, he really lost it, telling his staff, "I can't believe this," and slamming his phone down before heading out of the home. Jim allegedly avoided calls and refused to return messages while driving about Harlem for hours. "She played me and she gave me everything," I said. Another source claims that Jim is ashamed of more than just losing her. It has to do with embarrassment in public. This is no longer a personal hardship. Publicly accessible. The abrupt betrayal. But this is where the story took a darker turn. Several online speculations state that someone close to Jim and Chrissy's social circle was responsible for the revelations, but neither outsiders nor competitors in the sector are blamed. Indeed, fans began speculating immediately, and it's probable that someone they trusted was supplying the waiting for the perfect moment to detonate the bomb. They blog for weeks. Did someone from Chrissy's new life, a jealous friend, or perhaps a disgruntled former employer try to reveal the truth? One site claims that have screenshots of text conversations between the leaker and a local blogger discussing how much to pay for the movies. The social media conflagration caused the internet to go haywire. Memes were everywhere on timelines. One of them showed Jim looking forlorn with the tagline, "From love and hip-hop to love and husband number 2, displayed to Chrissy. Forever, but until the next husband, she said. The supporters were divided. Others supported Chrissy by saying that Jim had years to marry her but choose not to, while others dragged her and labeled her a traitor. This isn't dishonest. This marriage is brand new. Comments were pouring in. Jim can't go back from this. You're holding Chrissy responsible for keeping her waiting 20 years. I don't care what Jim did, but what was he expecting? Is repulsive. Her brand was built on loyalty. Take a look at how unequal celebrities are now. Celebrities started to weigh in. Tamar 50 Cent, who never shies away from a conversation, tweeted, "Chilly, not a new husband. This is making me gag too much. You can't trust anyone out there, not even your love and hip-hop castmates, because of this meme of Jim appearing astonished with a caption that reads, 'Some of you have been living lies.' For years, the shocking turn of events left everyone in shock, so don't act surprised when the mask comes off. A third leak was made public, but this time it was about Jim, rather than Chrissy's alleged new boyfriend. Screenshots of Chrissy's private messages from months ago have come to light, in which she accused Jim of continuing to have a side career with women. "I'm not going to be played," she wrote. "I love you," Jim allegedly remarked, "but I'll find someone who can commit if you can't. Stop pretending that I don't exist. You're always attempting to push me away." Those texts painted a different picture if they were authentic. Chrissy may not have been lying to Jim. After years of feeling unappreciated and disregarded, she could have been seeking retribution all of a sudden. The tense conclusion. As a result, we now have more questions than answers. Did Chrissy end up getting married a second time? Or have the documents been altered to facilitate a setup? Did the leaker belong to their inner group, and was he out for revenge? Or is the industry being designed to be taken down? Was Chrissy living a double life? Or, after years of waiting for Jim to finally give her the promise she begged for, was this the tipping moment for her? The upcoming phase of this controversy will undoubtedly uncover information that it is something Jim and Uzi will never be able to go past. Because there are other problems here than cheating. This relates to betrayal, shame, and the end of one of the most illustrious collaborations in hip-hop. And more than just a romance might be ruined when the next leak occurs. Reputations might be ruined forever. The Chrissy affair controversy was no longer only a story point. Social media, hip-hop blogs, and even popular gossip sites started talking about it. What started celebrities, fans, and business executives all took sides in the media storm that resulted from this shaky footage of Chrissy in a lounge. And the chaos. It's simply getting bigger. Twitter trends that are dominated by hashtags are booming. Chrissy was made public. Jim was broke. Yacker new husband disclosure. On Twitter, many lost their minds, arguing about whether Chrissy was the ultimate traitor or a lady regaining her life. She waited 20 years for a ring, and he never gave it, reads one widely circulated tweet. She is currently married to another person. She had to do that, and you're unhappy about it. There's more applause. No, it's not like this. Devotion was the foundation of her whole personality. How you deceived Jim such as that? SMH. Following the emergence of conspiracy theories, several followers asked others said that the doctor's certification was faked to paint Jim in a negative light and that Chrissy planned the wedding. Instagram Lives fueled the need for money, and the entire situation finally ended a relationship that had reached the end of its useful life. During their Instagram life, Yandi Smith couldn't help but comment, and Jessica grinned as Carly read it. This game lacks loyalty, and I wouldn't be surprised if Chrissy did it. The streets have been whispering, and men have been doing listen. Carly is constantly messy. Women will always be filthy. All I'm saying is that fire is present wherever smoke is present. Yandi, however, continued to wear a classy yet suspicious appearance. Sometimes what someone has showed you for years is exactly who they are.